Everyone, people of the internet, welcome to another episode of the Fireside Chat. We are here recapping the Totally Dramatic Survival Games, episode 3. It is here. This is our first elimination episode. I am your host, Edwin Voorhees, joined today by our lovely chef, Michi.
Hello.
We
My
are...
FaceTime is on again.
Yes, I know. Last week we kind of had to rush to put things together, but this week we are going to give you your more in-depth point of view of all things TDSG as we dive into this episode. And what an episode it was. This is the first time like the format really took shape because the training wheels were off. There was no more waiting to see what would happen. No more fun. Well, of course, there would hopefully be fun, but you know.
I mean, it was do or die because it was like now sink. Not even do or die. It was like sink or swim.
Yeah.
Y'all got your bonding time. Now it's time to be thrust into the abyss.
Exactly. So grab your coffee because we're gonna need to get through this because this was quite an eventful episode.
Yeah. Do you have your note cards?
Fully not. I'm kind of gonna wing this. Oopsies.
All right, let's do it. Oopsie poopsies.
Yeah. And yeah, so let us just hop into the episode. Well, first, before we do that, let's recap episode 2. Last episode, we saw Red and Alex vie for the title of camp counselor in a dance sync. Red came out on top, and yeah, very fun episode. But now this is the first time that the teams are going to be meeting each other. So, well, I mean, arguably. So as you can tell, some people have known each other already going into this season. So some people on the Frogs already knew others on the Badgers and vice versa. So it's just kind of how things shaped up. But from a team point of view, this is the start. So everyone kind of loads into the server. We have a few interactions. They finally found out that we built this camp on top of a big like ravine
that was
cave
like the
system.
funny part because they were like, wait, do we hear zombies?
Mhm.
And then just the absolute chaos that the episode opens with is iconic, and
Yeah.
I loved every minute of it.
Yep. Yeah, not only were there zombies, there were skeletons, endermen, creepers. You name it, it was there. And
They were having a party.
oh yeah, it's just kind of when I spawned that seed, there was just a lot of rock systems, cave systems, and I needed to cover them up. But do you think I was gonna put that much effort into doing it? No. I needed flat land to build a house.
Dude, the portal to the end was right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that too. That too. I mean, it's a good seed. No, it's not. As you'll see in episode 4,
not.
it was not a good seed. So I really needed to work to build the land, and I chose not to for the sake of easiness for me and for hardship for them. So as you'll see, that does have a big effect in episode 4 with
Trying
a
to
certain
find
challenge.
The chocolate for the cookies.
Yeah.
Oh my lord.
Oh, that too.
Oh my lord.
That too. Yeah, basically if you wanted to find something, you were not able to find it, which makes episode 4, which I'll give you a little sneak preview, is an episode where you have to literally go find stuff. Makes it very difficult. So
yeah,
that's the one good thing about having a harsh seed is add a little bit layer of difficulty, I guess. So yeah, but that's next week. We'll talk about that then. For now, we're talking about episode 3, and we go into the cafe because there was no mini challenge this week.
No, circumstances notwithstanding.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's a good point because the circumstances were a little bit wild. this is where things start falling apart for me health wise, and our schedules start to go off balance. So
It wasn't just the schedule. Remember, when we were like watching the episode, I had to I needed to be refreshed as to what had built up to that point, because we opened the cafeteria and I've got cake for everybody.
everyone, right? They probably didn't deserve it after, because there's something that happens where Michi says, given what happened the night before, and I know we kind of loosely touched on it already, but we did have to ban a camper who did not fully make the edit. I tried to keep them out, just for purposes, I guess. But yeah, that was what happened. Was we made that ban right before going into this episode. So this was a crazy start to everything. So Gwyn was having technical difficulties and had to leave the competition. Tamina,
yeah, their laptop was absolutely not having it.
Yeah, not having it with the server. Tamina, was originally going to be absent this episode and next episode, and so that's why I marked her as absent, because that's what we were operating under. But I will just announce now that by episode 5, Tamina, we just realized schedule is not working out. So Gwyn had to leave, Tamina had to leave. We had to ban a camper, and we'll get, there's one other cast change, but just to sum it all up, we lost a lot of people throughout these first few episodes, and that's mostly because of my health issues and scheduling. But we brought in Toad to replace Gwyn, and Tamina we still thought was absent at this time. So that's why this episode you see Toad come in. Thank you, Toad, for coming in.
Thank you, Toad. Honestly, it was great having Toad.
Yeah, oh yeah. And as we'll see, Toad performed really well this episode as a leader, and so we'll get into that as we go on. So that is what we have for our cast now, if you will. On Team Freaking Frogs this episode, we have Red, Dion, Nugs, Alex, who are all here episode 1, and or episode 2 for them. And then we have Jacob and Aline, who were always on the team, but they were just absent episode 2. So we have the 6 of them. And then on the Ballsy Badgers, we have Pixel, Edgy, Felix, Toad, Lauren, Dylan. 6 of them. So we have the 6v6 even teams going into the Ghost of Survivors Past Maxi Challenge. This was a fun one.
Man, I was so mentally prepared for this challenge, because like when we were in the planning stages and we were discussing this challenge, I got so excited, but also kind of got a little bit of a flashbacks.
Oh yeah,
for when I did a portion of this challenge myself in Hydrate or Hydrate.
Yeah,
because was it Aline that was my partner at the time? Oh, Vicky. Poor Vicky. Vicky ended up covered in arrows once all was said and done.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. So so the whole point of this challenge was to bring back challenges from our old show and kind of put it to rest, because I know we've been bringing it up a lot since episode 1, and it does not happen throughout the rest of the season. This was kind of our challenge to put that in our past and really start to work on new concepts. So yeah, we have a variety of different things. The whole latter half of the challenge, the puzzles into the pyramid dig, into the Rubik's Cube, that was all from season 2, Jacks vs. Jokers. The Bats and Hats Maxi Challenge from episode 1, so that was season 1, Island of the Duelists, which we already did. But the ice boat race was from season 3, Hydrate. And Michi did compete in that one. In that one, there were 2 people in the boat. Someone was the driver, and the other one was trying to shoot buttons with a bow and arrow. And Michi was the shooter.
I was bad.
And Vicky was just getting hit with arrows. It was great.
Pummeled.
Yeah. So we didn't have that requirement this time. We made it easier, but still equally chaotic. So without further ado, are you ready to get into the challenge?
Let's go.
Okay, so we go into the ice boat race, and it's as we expected. You know, they tried to find.
Chaos shenanigans.
Yep. Nugs picked up Dylan's boat. Nugs, thank you for throwing Dylan's boat back at him. You know, there's always going to be technical difficulties, and
Oh yeah, of course, especially with that actual cluster of a situation where everyone's trying to like figure out how to get the mechanics to work, making sure they don't fall in holes, don't fall in
yeah,
water.
excuse me, but also making sure there were enough obstacles. So, yeah, it was.
Sorry, I interrupted. Go.
No, I was just gonna say we worked with what we had and tried to make it a little bit harder for them.
Yeah, it wasn't the cackle fest that was when we did the challenge in Hydrate or Dihydrate, because I sounded like a broken tea kettle or a deflated tea kettle with the way I was wheezing every 5 seconds because I was laughing so hard at poor Vicky.
I think we did that as a mini challenge in Hydrate or Dihydrate, I want to say, and this time we kind of evolved it to maxi challenge. So, but it's as expected. Everyone kind of goes crazy and spins in circles on the packed ice. It was great. It was fun, and there's nothing to really comment on there. It's just the frogs got into the puzzles first, and that was that. And the frogs made it through the puzzles first, and then we get to like the big thing that we should probably talk about, which is the badgers in those puzzles, cheating, and
essentially,
yes. So the first set of puzzles was to feed Bill the cookie. Bill was the bird, and you needed to kill him. We were in peaceful mode, so the bird did not die, so I had to hand out the levers if you were confused about that, but that's that. The second puzzle, you were supposed to use the sword to grab web, or to cut the webs into string, and then power a tripwire to get through. The frogs did it a certain way, but what you could have done, the reason why the door was elevated was because if you put the tripwire under the door and then one across from it and filled in the middle, then you could walk and jump in, but they found a different way to do it. And then the last puzzle was to break the wood and make a button, which the frogs figured that out, but our lovely little badgers, what'd they do? They just stole the lever from the first part, and we didn't notice.
No, we didn't. You and I were since it was just you and me at the time,
right?
It was just us two handling all of these 12 players practically on our own. I kept an eye on making sure, nobody got lost, nobody went missing, because, there was a moment in episode 2 before we got Lauren to substitute, where Lauren spelunked a little bit too hard and was, like, very far from camp. And this was notoriously happening a lot for some of the players. So we just wanted to make sure that everyone stayed in bounds, even if the space was contained, because chaos.
Right. And I know what you're thinking at home. Well, why don't you have someone in one voice chat, like me and the badgers and Michi and the frogs, or vice versa? Well, the whole point is, like, I'm trying to host and narrate this competition. That's why you hear me make a narration that, like, oh, both teams are down to their last thing. And even that wasn't right. Like, I was trying to operate as quickly as I could with the distance that there was. I'm not Jeff Probst and I can see everything right in front of me. I had to actively move back and forth. And
we didn't have like 15 angles, or the capability of being able to go into spectator and then just compare notes, because it was just both of us.
Yeah, and everyone being in Discord calls, we were just going back and forth, and I think that the cheating just so happened to be at a time when we were both looking at the frogs, so or troubleshooting something else. So Yeah, these challenges we're troubleshooting through, and what's worse is that if the Badgers didn't cheat, because I did say that if you can't figure the puzzle out, you do get a penalty. They
Hmm.
should. So what they should have done, they couldn't figure out the two puzzles. So I think I said a minute. So they would have had 2 minute penalty, and that could have been the difference for the frogs. So really,
Yeah, 100%.
so really, should the frogs have been at Camp Fire Council this week? Probably not, honestly. But those things happen, and you
I
know,
mean, it wasn't just entirely what happened with the cheating, with the whole taking the button from the last room.
mhm,
We were kind of very clear on what it was supposed to be. Like, everything had to be contained within the maze.
right,
So they just, instead of like being scrappy and like figuring out the solution with the tools that they had, which was kind of the point,
mhm,
they just took something from the last room and went with it.
yeah,
It also did not entirely help having someone getting easily frustrated on the frogs, like
yeah,
they were kind of consistently doing
yeah,
all the way up until the end, especially at the end.
mhm, yeah. It's hard. It's really hard to say what. Yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but just because
I
this
mean,
was
it's a lot going on.
right,
So
there's a lot going on, and I don't know how much you can like. It's definitely cheating because it wasn't the way that we intended, but like the part of the tripwire puzzle was that you had to go back into the other room. So if you could steal it, why not? But we did have instructions. There were little signs like take a trip to room 3 or something like that. So hindsight, it's what happened. We roll with it, and that brings us into the pyramid side of things and the digging and the puzzle. And Badgers were they also remembered the shovel, which
mhm.
definitely helped them gain speed.
Yeah, that's definitely true because you saw some of the frogs; they were absolutely just going at it without the,
Yeah,
and it helped having that shovel
right,
to be able to dig through quickly, especially because considering that both pyramids had the exact same layout, they were just mirrored. I think they were mirrored or
yes,
close enough to it
yeah, they
because the
were.
position.
I don't think they were.
I
I'm
don't think
trying
they
to
were mirrored. I'm
think.
sorry. I need to correct myself because the location of the last yellow block, which is the one that Nugs was saying, was exactly where it was for
Right.
the Badgers.
Yeah,
So
I know.
it was more or less. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I know I copied and pasted it in World Edit. I think I might have rotated it a bit, rotated the build. I don't know how I did that. If I did, because when you copy and paste in World Edit, it just spits it out in the same. You I don't know how I rotated it. I must have had to rebuild it, but I know, however I did do it, the pyramids were exactly the same. So
The blocks were almost in the exact same position across both
yeah,
like sides. So it was just a matter of them looking in the same places, to
yep.
which
The frogs fell
when it fell
short.
short
Yeah,
because they totally missed a couple of layers, and it did not help that
right.
someone was detracting the entire time because they're
Yeah,
like, no, we don't need to look there, we don't need to look there. They needed to look
they
there.
needed to look there, and that's the thing. The hardest ones for them to find were the ones that were right under the dirt, because what they mostly did was they went straight in, but there were two wool blocks directly under the first layer of the pyramid,
Yep,
and
there was the yellow one and then the purple one
purple.
near the top of the
Yep.
pyramid.
And Aline found that first for the frogs on the first thing that they broke. So that's why they didn't have troubles with that one, and why it came to be the last one for the for the Badgers.
For the Badgers.
So,
but the problem was that yellow block in the corner, which immediately because I was looking over to the puzzle, you had the right answer. I just wanted to make sure that the people who were digging had to be the assigned diggers,
right.
that it was nobody else but the diggers that were doing it. And I think I was in spectator mode. I can't remember because my cam was off. And they were looking exactly in the area of that first layer, but they just never got to the yellow block, and I was so upset.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
The frogs almost had it. Nugs literally only needed that yellow block, and they would have been done.
Yep. And plus, the Nugs made the call out. I just think Nugs made the call out, and it took them a second to respond to it. Whereas when Felix and Lauren were like, "Hey, y'all should check these locations," Dylan went to check that one corner, found the yellow block immediately, and then Pixel went to check out that other layer and also found the purple block immediately. So while there was cheating involved and it probably would have impacted the outcome of this all, I do think just the communication from the Badgers was also something to consider as a beneficial factor for them in this challenge. So the Badgers win.
They did.
Yes. What were you going to say?
No, that the communication the Badgers had was very clear, especially when, again, like you said, Lauren was like, "Hey, did you check here? Did you check here?" While Nugs was trying to get the diggers to check exactly where she was saying the last block was, they just completely and utterly ignored her.
Right.
Because like, "Oh yeah, no, we already checked there." No, you didn't.
Yep.
Because the first thing Nugs did once the Badgers won was check exactly where she said, and that's where it was.
Right, exactly. And so these things happen. We don't really know what would have happened. For all we know, they could have just kept digging elsewhere otherwise, but we don't know entirely. So that results in the Badgers winning, quote unquote. Right when we get back, we see that every one of the frogs except for Alex kind of pulls to the side.
I absolutely, in retrospect, I'm glad we did this, and I'm eager to see more of this coming up in the next season when we do this. Just giving them that free roam time after each challenge, because that's exactly where the plotting begins, and I was just awestruck, just like watching it on our side.
Yeah, for sure. I think what kind of stood out by this episode was that there were very two clearly different games going on. Speaking specifically on the frog side of things, because the same exact thing can be said for the Badgers. You have a set of players who are playing casually, there to make good social bonds with friends to advance themselves and just play in the challenges strong. And then you have a set of people who are there to make moves and build strategic bonds instead of personal. So I think you can start to really see that start to form, but it seems like everyone was starting to come to a general consensus that Alex was going to be the first one to go home, sadly. So, that it's sad. It has to happen, and I do definitely think it didn't help Alex that some of these players knew each other and all of that. So, unfortunately, we'll get to what happens, but yeah. So we see the scheming. We see some random lightning and thunder going over a tree. We're not going to talk about that right now as much as I want to, but
dude, I'm still of the I can't believe it camp on that.
Yeah, no one found what we were trying to point to. So,
that's how well we hit it, because I remember when we were putting these, because we had some time before the server opened for everybody, that I told you know what, I want to put it here, and I want to cover it up with this to make it look like it's a part of the surface where it is, to conceal it better.
Yep.
And you said I was devious, but also it blended with the
Oh,
environment
yeah.
so well
You could not
that
notice.
we could honestly, I really think that even the most avid Minecraft players didn't even notice how out of place those extra blocks, because there's more than one,
Yes.
those extra blocks looked in that hiding area.
Mm-hmm.
Because even myself, who is not a super active Minecraft player, whenever I load into a new biome and I see all those I don't see any extra blocks the way we did it
Right. Oh, yeah.
in that biome.
It's
There's no
very hidden because this isn't just something on the surface where it's like a random flower for you to dig under. It's you need to be in a nook and cranny and notice that there is a nook and cranny in that nook and cranny. Without further ado, we have just our general wrap ups. We go to the main stage for critiques. Lauren gets camp counselor. I feel like I don't know who I would give it to nowadays. You know what? That's a question. Who would you give camp counselor now that we have seen the full transpiring of that episode? Would you keep it as Lauren? Because we gave it to Lauren because Lauren remembered the shovel and was also kind of controlling the puzzle.
Point with puzzle, yeah.
Yeah.
Like in retrospect, I would, in hindsight, I would actually have given it to Nugs.
Nugs, yeah. I think
because Nugs really tried to lead and really tried to guide people exactly where they needed to be, and it was just an unfortunate matter of dissonant voices, everybody talking over each other, and taking the time to listen and process and then try.
Right. Yeah, I think for us, if you're talking in our ear, that's easier for us to make a judgment call of how you're performing in the challenge. And I think just Nugs was a little bit on the quieter side at first, and we didn't get to really hear that. And I don't know. I think I would be comfortable because for me, who got camp counselor would fully depend on which team won because of how close it was. But definitely, I think my tops would remain the same, and you could throw Nugs in there. So that's what I would say. But Lauren does get it from what we saw, and it's not to say she did a bad job. She did amazing.
No, exactly, because I praised Lauren for being a puzzle master, because honestly, that is exactly what it was. Even though Nugs definitely had the solution first, because from what it sounds like, Nugs had the solution first.
Yeah.
It still is something that was done appropriately by Lauren. She did a great job.
Yeah, for sure. So Lauren has to cast a vote, and she asks Jacob. So let's get into this campfire council, because
Oh my Lord, watching them vote on through our perspective. Holy cannoli!
So going into this, we have the perspective that Alex is probably going to go home. And spoiler alert, Alex does go home, but we'll get into that. But we see that the vote actually ties 3-3 to 1.
I was so shocked that it tied.
I was shocked too, but then I realized what happened. And I think this is the biggest question for everyone watching this. What happened to the vote? Well, let me tell you. So, Lauren casts a vote as a backup vote to protect Jacob and Dion if anything fishy were to happen. So Lauren votes for red. Alex is not voting for himself. So Alex votes for red. Now you're probably wondering, why did Aline vote for red? Well, it's the same reason why red voted for Aline. They were just trolling.
Of course.
That's the answer. I know that's not a satisfactory answer, but you know,
It is what it is.
Yeah, they were there. They were having fun. They were friends. They did a funny, let's vote each other for the drama. And then, it actually created a lot of drama because they were like, oh shit. And then.
Yeah, because I don't think they were expecting that their troll votes would lead to such a situation where it was not obvious who was going to go home.
Right, exactly. That's why
Which made them reconsider, like, yeah, we can't troll for the actual vote after all this.
Yeah.
If not.
That's why I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Me too.
I gotta censor that. Fuck. Oh, no. I need to stop talking. I need to stop swearing. But
I mean, it's after the first minute. It's okay.
I don't know how that works. Whatever. I'll keep it in. Fuck it. So.
F it.
F it. Yeah. So that's what ends up happening. Then Dion, Jacob, and Nugs still kept their vote for Alex. And in the revote, we see Alex goes home unanimously because they're like, oh shit. We didn't mean to troll like that. So Alex goes home.
We trolled a little bit too close to the sun.
Yeah. But Alex does end up going home and is the first person eliminated from TDSG. Well, arguably the third because someone was banned and however,
and other people had to leave, but yeah.
So however y'all want to put that in your spreadsheets and all of that,
in the wikis,
whatever, that what we're counting it officially as is Alex is the first to go home. How we have it in our spreadsheets is like Gwen/Toad, and as someone else has to get replaced. Tamina is a quit/left, and then someone else gets replaced. So it will be that person/new person, and that happens next episode. So the cast has just a few more changes from here on out. Bear with us, but. Yeah, Alex, we're very thankful to have had you on this season, and
definitely.
Yeah, thank you for coming in, and I hope you had a good time. So
I hope so too.
Yeah, but we also find out that Alex has a chance to come back.
Oh yeah, that's a twisty. We have a twisty.
If you didn't catch the end of the last episode and you just clicked out when the end screen came on, maybe you forgot a lot of good movies have a post-credit scene. So it's only a few seconds, but maybe go check it out. And that will be revealed in full detail later. But for now, after 3 episodes in, what is TDSG looking like for you?
Oh my gosh. At this point, it's like Lauren's looking like a good contender. At this point, with how it looks and everything, Lauren.
Right. Yeah, at this point, from what we see, I think because Lauren's been runner-up twice before, and it's clear she knows how to run the game. Whereas everyone is here thinking about, who should we get out first? She's thinking, who should we get out first? And how can I make sure no one, my allies don't go home? So she's putting in that extra thought. And
it's like she's trying to play chess and making sure that her friends stay in the game. Because Lauren knows that those are guaranteed votes for her later.
Right. So we'll just have to see if it pans out. Yeah. So, with that being said, that is the recap for episode 3, unless there's anything I'm missing.
I don't think so, because for a second I thought something was going to come up in this episode, but it didn't, because my brain rot hasn't fully set in yet.
Oh, yeah. Episode 5. Episode 5. I'm so excited.
That's where the brain rot set in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Context. Happy anniversary, Baldur's Gate.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Baldur's Gate 3.
So, with that being said, this has been the Fireside Chat. I am your host, Edwin Voorhees, and then this is our lovely Chef Michi. And that has been TDSG episode 3. So join us next Wednesday as we recap TDSG episode 4. And of course, join us on Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for an all new episode for one of my favorite challenges of the season. So.
Man, there are so many good challenges this season.
There
I'll be
are.
honest.
There are. I know. I'm going to say that every week. I will say my favorite challenge, period, is episode 6. So I'm not going to.
Is that the one where? No, that's not the one where. No.
So that has been TDSG episode 4. Thank you. Come back next week. Goodbye.
Bye.